On the 28th of December 1879, a Sunday evening, a train left Burnt Island in Fife for Dundee. It gathered passengers at the small stations along the way, and by the time it reached the Firth of Tay, there were somewhere near 75 people aboard, crossing in the dark with Hogmanay 3 days off. Ahead of them lay 2 miles of iron across open water, the longest bridge in the world, opened 19 months before. Queen Victoria had crossed it that June. The man who designed it had been knighted for it. The train ran onto the bridge at about 7:15. None of them, however, would reach Dundee. Take the train north out of Fife today, and the line runs out over the water at Dundee, and for about 2 minutes there is nothing under you but the Firth of Tay. Look out of the window on the seaward side, and you will see a row of stone piers standing in the water, parallel to the bridge you are crossing. There are dozens of them. They hold nothing up. They carry no track, no road, no cable. They stand in a line across the estuary, and they stop. Most people who see them assume they are the beginnings of something that was never finished. They are not. They are what is left of the bridge that went into the water that night. And the reason those piers are still there is the part nobody expects. The bridge had been designed by an engineer named Thomas Bouch. The middle of it went into the river, and the train went with it, a locomotive, a tender, 5 carriages and a luggage van, running from Burnt Island up to Dundee on the Edinburgh line. Nobody aboard survived. Now, the easy version of this story is that a storm took a bridge. That version is comfortable because storms are nobody's fault. The record does not support the easy version. The first thing the record shows is that the bridge was never designed for wind at all. Bouch built to a wind loading of 10 pounds per square foot. That figure did not come from nowhere. It came from advice given by the Astronomer Royal in 1873. But that advice had been given in respect of suspension bridges, and it was carried across to a structure of a very different kind. After the bridge fell, the recommended standard for wind loading became 56 pounds per square foot, with a factor of safety of 4 on top of it. 56, where there had been 10. On the night it happened, the wind over the estuary was running at force 10 to 12 on the Beaufort scale. At Glasgow, 71 miles an hour was recorded as an average across a full hour, and later work on the figures puts the gusts near 80. That was a severe storm. It was not an impossible one. It was the kind of weather the Firth of Tay produces, and had produced before, and would produce again. The second thing the record shows is that the bridge had already been failing, quietly, for some time before that night. When the Court of Inquiry examined what came out of the water, it found cast iron columns whose walls varied in thickness by as much as half an inch. It found bolt holes that were conical rather than straight, so that a bolt could never sit tight in them. It found gibs and cotters that were undersized. It found lugs that were poorly fitted. It found cross-bracing that was not adequate for the job it was being asked to do. And it found something worse than any single defect. The high girders, the tall middle section that carried the track above the shipping channel, ran to 13 spans. Of the 14 piers holding them, only 3 had fixed connections. One of the inquiry's own engineers put the standard plainly. Every bolt should have been a steady pin, and should have fitted the hole it was applied to. Every strut should have had a firm abutment. The joints of the columns should have been incapable of movement. None of that was true of the Tay Bridge. The 2 engineers who signed the main report, Yolland and Barlow, wrote that the fall of the bridge was occasioned by the insufficiency of the cross-bracings and fastenings to sustain the force of the gale on the night of December the 28th, 1879. And then they added a sentence that changes what kind of story this is. They wrote that the bridge had been previously strained by other gales, not damaged that night, strained before it. The wind that took the bridge down was not the first wind to work on it. It was the last one. The verdict passed into the language in 8 words: badly designed, badly built, and badly maintained. Thomas Bouch was held chiefly responsible. He died on the 30th of October, 1880, aged 58, 4 months after the report was published. The third thing the record shows is the strangest, and it is the reason this account sits in the archive at all. Nobody knows how many people died, not approximately, not to the nearest 10. The number is genuinely not known, and the way we know it is not known is itself part of the record. 56 tickets for Dundee had been collected from passengers before the train went out onto the bridge. That is a hard figure. Those 56 people were aboard. But a ticket collected is not the same as a person counted. There were season ticket holders who handed nothing over. There were passengers traveling beyond Dundee whose tickets were not collected there. There were railway employees riding as staff. Adding those in, the inquiry believed 74 or 75 people had been on the train. Believed. 59 of the dead are known by name. 46 bodies were recovered from the Firth. Sit with that arithmetic for a moment. Somewhere between 74 and 75 people went into the water. 59 can be named. 46 were found. The rest are a subtraction. They are the space between a ticket count and a body count. And they have stayed that size for 147 years. There is one more thing, and I include it because it belongs in the record, even though it reads like invention. The locomotive was pulled out of the Tay. It was not scrapped. It was repaired, put back into service, and it ran on that line until 1919. The men who worked it gave it a name. They called it the Diver. For 40 years, people boarded trains in Scotland and were pulled along behind an engine that had been at the bottom of the estuary with everyone who had been riding behind it. Which brings us back to the piers. When the bridge was replaced, the new one was not built on the old line. It was built alongside it. And the old piers, the ones the fallen bridge had stood on, were not removed. They were left standing in the water, and they were put to use as breakwaters to take the force of the current off the new bridge. So the structure that failed is now protecting the structure that replaced it. Every train that crosses the Tay today runs past a line of stone piers that carry nothing, and those piers are doing a job. They are still working. They are taking the water so the new bridge does not have to. You can see them from the window. At low tide, you can see them clearly. Nobody put up a sign. There is no marker on the bridge. No plaque you pass at 7:15 in the evening. There is only a row of piers in the Firth holding nothing up, doing quiet work for the thing that came after them. The record is written down. The bridge was badly designed, badly built, and badly maintained. The wind was severe and not exceptional. The count was never completed, and the evidence is not in a museum. It is in the water, in daylight, beside a working railway, where several million people a year look straight at it and see the beginnings of something that was never finished. This account is sealed. Cross the Tay if you like. Just know what you're looking at. Sealed.